That's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Hello everybody, and make sure that you walk with rhythm. Welcome back to Dune, the Prelude to Dune trilogy by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. I did have notes, but I really don't have too much to say about this one, so I'm just going to give you a brief kind of non-spoilery summary. I like this one a lot more than House Harkonnen. I think it's the best of the three. You know, it's House Harkonnen at the bottom, then House Atreides, and then House Corrino. And of course, this one focuses a lot more on Shaddam and everything. Though, of course, Leto Atreides is still around. Baron's still being the Baron, and but a lot of things come to a head in this particular story. We have Shaddam with his father originally started, Elrond, started this whole thing with working with the Tleilaxu to work on this possible alternative spice. So that way he become the sole power in the galaxy. You know, so that way Chom couldn't have control over him. That way, you know, the other houses couldn't. That way the Baron Harkonnen would become useless. And Shaddam, well, Elrond could just rule with the utmost authority and power across the known universe. But then, of course, in the first book, Shaddam and Fenring, you know, the House of Thrones kill Shaddam's father, so that way Shaddam can become Emperor of the known universe. And he's been waiting, because the Tleilaxu said this was going to take a long time, till this was actually something viable. So then, they wait. In the whole second book, the stuff's still being worked on, and Shaddam's getting more and more and more frustrated because the Sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit will not give him a son. They have only allowed him to heir daughters. And at this point, Jessica is pregnant with Paul. I don't know if they have a name for him yet at the beginning of the book. I think it's near the end, but it's Paul. So now Shaddam's trying to issue in, you know, the eradication of everyone else by making Arrakis be useless, because now he has his own artificial spice that everyone will have to grant or get if they want to be able to go through space and everything. Although the Tleilaxu have their own goals and agendas. So plots within plots within plots. Leto Atreides is helping his childhood friend Rombar, who is now part machine due to the events of the last book, and he has this new drive to take back his homeworld of Ix and to become the ruler of it. And so Leto Atreides is helping him with that goal. Of course, the way that the book ends, with the Landsrat and everything, Shaddam can't do anything about it. So there's that. But no spoiler summary. Obviously, this artificial spice that Shaddam and his father's been working on for all these years cannot exist by the time of the original Dune novel. So that is taken care of by the end of this. Now, everything is set up kind of in place of where characters need to be. There's still room for stories set before the original Dune novel, but it sets up, you know, Jessica has Paul now. Rombar has his place back. Rombar's not really, I think, mentioned in the original series, so I don't know if something will happen to him in a future novel, or if he's just not going to be talked about again because he's no longer important. I don't know. Shaddam is, you know, super prideful and cocky and always worried about someone trying to take his place on the throne or to kill him, so he's, you know, it sort of sets up him being fearful of Leto, especially with the events of this book and what Leto manages to accomplish without getting in trouble for it. You know, people actually praising him for what he's doing, because he's just a lot more charismatic than The Emperor is, though. So I feel like that's sufficient. But I could also see further things that Leto could do before the events of the original novel that could make, very explicitly the Emperor wants him dead. Like, I imagine that's where the Caladan trilogy would have to end on, is with the Emperor wanting him dead, but I don't know. Because obviously that's the whole plot point of the first book. Well, at least before everything goes down. The weakest part of this is probably just Jessica, because Jessica for a time has to go on Catan and stay there while she delivers her child. Of course, seeing the Bene Gesserit freak out because she disobeyed orders was great. And Leto in this book is great as always. They exude everything. Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson exude everything that I loved about him in the original book. This so far is the weakest trilogy that I've read by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. But I still really enjoyed it. It was still a fun read. And you also got to remember this was the first thing they worked on together. It was this, then I think the sequel books to the actual main series by Frank Herbert, and then all the prequel stuff that they worked on. And all the prequel stuff so far I have loved. Like the Butler and Jihad, it's not Frank level, but I thought it was really good. Certainly the best of what I've seen of Kevin J. Anderson. Really, really good. And I think absolutely worthy of the Dune name. Maybe not on par with Frank, but something worthy of the name. And same thing with Sisterhoods of Dune. Or the Schools of Dune trilogy, which takes place 80 years after the Butler and Jihad one, I think were absolutely phenomenal. This, it's okay. It's not as engaging as I think that those previous two trilogies were, but it's also the first thing they worked on, so it's played very safe. But it's fun, and it definitely you feel those Kevin J. Anderson things in there. I feel like the other books I could tell like Kevin, Brian, synergy. This one, I don't know. It felt like it was mostly Kevin. I don't know. Maybe that's why it's weaker. I don't know. I don't know how it all worked. I don't know them. I haven't interviewed them or talked to them. But not that Kevin's a problem. I love Kevin. But it just came off as a bit weaker to me. Not that I thought it was bad by any means. Just it was played very safe. And I don't know. Also, your mileage may vary. The Pardon Kynes and the Liet Kynes stuff I just never found particularly interesting. Maybe I just don't find the Freeman that interesting, apart from that original novel. Because they're also, the early versions of them are in the Butler and Jihad stuff and whatnot, and I think they're okay there too. Certainly more interesting than they were here. I just think I don't find the Freeman that fascinating without Paul there to kind of contrast that with the whole Messiah thing going on. So, I don't know. But it was perfectly serviceable there with that. And yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoy this trilogy. I love getting to spend more time with these characters before their demise in the original Dune novel. And I'm sure I'll love most of the Dune novels by Frank Herbert more than these books, probably. But I can't say that I feel like my time has been wasted or that I didn't have fun reading these, They set out to make more stories in the Dune universe, and I think they succeeded. So I ultimately really enjoyed it. I had to read Shaddam this whole time, though, as Christopher Walken, because in the Dune trailer for part 2... Christopher Walken is going to be the Emperor, so the whole time that I read this book, I heard his voice in the lines, so that was crazy. Also, I heard Oscar Isaac by the end of it, because Duke Leto starts as a child in that first book, but then it jumps ahead, he turns 20, then he's about 30, So, I like Oscar Isaac in the role as Duke Leto Atreides. I think he did a great job, and so I enjoy getting to envision Oscar Isaac in the role in these stories. I think and obviously these are a bit more actiony. It's the whole thing with Rambar wanting to retake his place, so you could get some sort of action in these stories, which I think is fine. And then there's everything with the Tailaxu and the face dancers, which are things that become bigger things in the later books that I've even read. But, it's cool to hear about these factions now. So I kind of have some basis of understanding of who they are when I actually get to the stories where they're more heavily featured. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys check out this trilogy. If you don't like Kevin J. Anderson, I don't see this trilogy changing your mind on him. if you want to see if you could possibly allow yourself to enjoy any book that's not written by Frank Herbert, I would start with the Butlerian Jihad trilogy that they did. I would not start with this one. And if you're able to stomach that and you enjoy that, then maybe go ahead and read this at some point. But I'm a big fan of Leto Atreides. He's one of my favorite parts of the original Dune novel, and I was so sad that he got killed off. So I'm very happy that these prequel novels exist where I get to spend more time with him before his demise. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Sharing helps a ton. Also, I forgot to mention, Erlon is 11 here, which means she's 11 years older than Paul, which is crazy. I also somehow missed that Shawnee's father was Liet Kynes, but I figured that out in this book because I'm stupid. But those are just a couple things. I had a couple more notes, but like ultimately, I just want you to read it. It's a really good fun time. So definitely recommend. It's got my seal of approval for whatever that's worth. But yeah. Up next, actually, I have for you Princess of Dune, which is the newest, like recently just released October 3rd, 2023 novel by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. Is it a cash grab? Is it horrible? Is it this? Is it that? I don't know. We'll find out. But it's about Chani and Erlon 2 years before the events of the original Dune novel. So it does take place before that recent trilogy that came out a few years back. So we'll see how that is in the next video. And then we will return to to the Star Wars franchise. Remember to walk with rhythm, or the worms may eat you. And let the spice flow. Till next time.